Today we have the Reliant Sit to Stand Up Lift, model number RPS 350-1. The Sit to Stand Lift is ideal for use with weight bearing or patients, as well as those needed rehabilitation support. The Reliant Sit to Stand Lift will be a valuable addition to your safety management system when transporting or rehabbing a patient. The features of the Reliant 350S Sit to Stand Lift have adjusting, pivoting leg support with a soft pad for lateral contour, which will secure the leg in 3 different positions for comfort at any height. It is ideal for toilet transfers, as well as transfers to wheelchairs or other seating arrangements, and standing from other surfaces such as bed frames or mattresses. It does have a base length of 35.5 inches, and it does have a base width of 37 inches when open and 26 inches when closed. It does have a weight capacity of up to 350 pounds. You do not want to exceed the weight capacity on any patient's transfer or transport. It does have 3-inch casters on the front of your base and 5-inch casters on the rear, which do have a total lock brake system. The maximum overall height of your Sit to Stand Lift at the maximum sling hookup, which is this one located at the top of the lift arms, and that maximum height would be 66 inches. The minimum height at the sling hookup, which would be the lowest of the 3 points on the lift arms, is 40 inches. You do need a clearance of 4.5 inches, which is the base height. It does have a battery operated system, which will allow for your patient transfers and transports. Any fully charged battery may have up to 150 to 300 lifts per fully charged. It does have a low battery audible alarm when the low battery is low. When you maneuver your remote function up and down, you will hear the audible beep, signaling that the battery is low and you will need to change over to your reserve battery. On the lower part here, you do have your battery charging system, which will have a power cord that should be plugged into your grounded electrical outlet for proper and safe function during storage, to ensure that you always have a fully charged battery on reserve. If you do have a discharged battery, in order to recharge it, it may take up to a maximum of 6 hours to fully recharge, depending on discharge. Features of your Sit to Stand Lift are your grab bar here, where you should always make all maneuvers of your Sit to Stand Lift when moving or transporting a patient. When it comes to your total locks on your 5-inch rear casters, to engage the lock, simply press down on the actual lock. To disengage the lock, you would simply hit the top side of the lock and press to unlock the caster. You should only lock your 5-inch casters during times of storage, or when you are going to connect or remove the Sit to Stand sling from the patient and the lift arms. At all other times, your 5-inch rear caster should always remain unlocked. So during any type of lifting or transporting for any patient, you would always want the wheels to be in an unlocked position, so in case the patient's weight is off-centered, the wheels will be able to self-adjust and center the patient's weight according to their position. This here is your base lever, which will widen your base and narrow your base when going through passages. To widen your base, simply pull the base arm adjuster away from the mast, swing it to the right position, and then release and make sure it locks into the position for the wide base. You would never want to make any type of adjustments to the base arm adjuster while the patient is standing in the lift or while you are moving a patient. If going through a narrow door, that is the only time you should adjust your adjuster with a patient on the sit-to-stand lift. At all times, when using your sit-to-stand lift for your patient, your base should always be in the widened position. This is the base which powers your sit-to-stand lift. On the top side, you have your battery pack. In order to change your battery pack in case of a low battery, you would need to squeeze the release here on the back side top section of your battery. Once you squeeze, you want to lift up and pull away from the lift in order to remove the battery pack from the base. Then you would want to take the same action to press and release the lock from the top side of the battery, pull up and away from the charger base. Then you can have both batteries disconnected, replace the fully charged battery onto your main box which powers your lift, making sure that you hear the snap of the lock to click into place. When you replace one battery, then you may replace the discharge battery onto the charger for recharging purposes. Also ensuring that you hear the click when mounted onto the charging base. Now the power cord should always be unplugged and out of the way when making any type of lifts or transports with your patient. The only time the power cord should be plugged in is during times of storage, when you need to recharge your discharge battery to ensure you always have a fully charged reserve battery. In any instance where you forget to recharge your reserve battery and you have two batteries that are completely depleted with no energy to lift the patient or lower the patient once they were in the standing position, on your actuator base, you do have a key ring connected to your emergency release. Here, when this key ring is pulled in the upward position with the patient's weight in the sling, that will help to lower your lift arms so the patient may be seated onto a surface. At that time, you may then remove the sit-to-stand sling from the patient and the lift arms, and then place your sit-to-stand lift in storage and quickly plug in for recharging. On your main box, which powers your sit-to-stand lift, you do have a red emergency stop here. This red emergency stop, when in the outward position, will always have activation to your remote control. In order to activate your emergency stop, to prevent the patient from maneuvering your remote control if unattended, simply press the emergency stop button inward until it clicks and locks into position. Anytime your emergency stop button is pressed and activated, it will stop all function of your remote control. Your remote control has your up arrow and down arrow in order to lift or lower your patient. It does disconnect from the base of your main control box as such, so you want to make sure you watch on how much you pull on your actual remote cord, because if it does become pulled out of position or loose, it also may cause your remote control not to work correctly. If it does become disconnected, simply follow your safety guide into inserting the when inserting into the main control box to make sure it's inserted in the correct position, and press until it fully inserts. After replacing your power cord connection, then you may go ahead and test your remote control again. If when you test there is no remote function, first check your emergency stop button to make sure that it's not activated. If activated, simply quarter turn clockwise and release to deactivate. After deactivating your emergency stop, you may then use your remote control to test your up and down function. So this is the grab bar. This is the adjuster bar to adjust the width and narrowness of your base. You do have your locks. These are the control or the lift arms where your sling would be mounted to. This is a 6-point lift arm because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different points on where the sling will be mounted. This darker gray area here are grip pads on where the patient shall be holding onto the lift arms when any type of lift or transport is going to be made for your patient. On this side, you will have your foot plate here, where your patient's feet should be placed when positioning for and preparing for a sit-to-stand lift. This is your knee pad here, which is cushioned, and it does have 3 adjustment settings, as previously noted, 4 different heights. This pad should always be positioned in front of the patient's knees for correct positioning when preparing for a sit-to-stand lift. If when the patient positions his feet or her feet onto the foot plate and the knee pad is not directly in front of the patient's knees, in order to adjust, you will need to pull and release your spring-loaded lever here on the back side of your